How you doing, guys? Daniel back again with another video for you. Today I want to talk to you about how Chillcon is still one of the best tabletop and wargaming conventions in the north. So just the other weekend I had the pleasure of attending Chillcon. I was lucky enough to be invited as a content creator in order to cover the event. This was my first time being a content creator, so whilst I was really excited, I felt really bad at it. I did a number of things wrong, like I forgot to get my goodie bag that they kindly give to the creators. I managed to get a few little extra freebies though. I got a cup and I got a little spud miniature as a couple of freebies, and there was free food there, snacks and food when you arrive. But yeah, there's a number of reasons I felt I didn't cover the event that well. One of them being that I was conscious of keeping kids entertained, basically. So I attended this event with my partner Darcy and her two children, Matilda and Violet, and I felt that it was my job to make sure everybody was okay, rather than actually taking care of covering the content. There was ways I found to cover the content, like allowing the kids to do some filming. But as you'll see, as I put up the footage now, it's got mixed results, some of that filming. But yeah, it was a great event overall, just poorly covered, I felt, by myself. This year the event was held at Hillsborough College in Sheffield, and it was £2.50 entry for a ticket. I had already bought a couple of tickets, so I just passed them on to friends. I didn't charge them anything either. So yeah, I'd bought a couple of tickets in advance, and then when Spud contacted me from the Sean contacted me from the Chillcon team asking if I wanted to attend as a content creator, I jumped at the chance. Because I've been to Chillcon before, and I know they have some fantastic vendors there. Vendors such as Rogue Hobbies were there for the first time this year. The Outpost, which is a Sheffield local gaming store. Colour Forge, Warlord Games, Halen Games, and lots of others. Plus another great addition I felt this year was the seminars. They had seminars from, well, it was a live podcast recording from the Jugs podcast team. That's Peachy, Louise and Rob, the Honest Wargamer. They have a podcast together. If you didn't already know, make sure you check it out, because that's one of my favourite podcasts to listen to and watch, if you're watching the YouTube version. So yeah, they also had seminars from Annie at Bad Squiddo. She was doing a talk on historical women in history and taking part in wars and wargaming. A lot of content creators there this year. Be the Little Mermaid, she streamed on Twitch in the past. I've not seen her stream recently, although maybe my Twitch notifications have gone funny or something. They've also got content creators working there, like Kev from the Hobby Corner on Twitch and YouTube. And yeah, they had other content creators, Last Hammer and Bill Making Stuff was there, and Slimehouse Miniatures was there, who's a channel that I've started watching a little bit of every now and again since I've seen him. I think I saw him on someone else's channel first, and then I started watching a little bit of his stuff. It's really cool stuff, like you know, he makes a lot of toys basically, so like reimaginings of classic 80s toys, or toys in a classic 80s fashion, that kind of thing. It's cool stuff. So yeah, there was lots to see, do, lots of people to meet there and all that kind of stuff. They also have the hobby clinic upstairs, and yeah, so if you're looking for tips, the hobby clinic's there. They have a couple of events you can take part in. The speed painting competition, it's a paint in 20 competition, and then there's the Bits Blitz, which I took part in this year. I didn't do the speed painting because I'd done that previous year, and I know I can paint a Space Marine in 20 minutes. I did win a previous year as well, so I thought I'd give some others a chance this year. Darcy's kids both took part in the speed paint this year. They had some really lovely, like, rainbow coloured, well, Violet did like a rainbow coloured marine, just with diagonal stripes almost of like different colours going across. And Matilda went for a slightly different approach with, like, I think she had yellow shoulder pads in the end, and like a red torso and all that kind of stuff. Very much like your first sort of miniatures, if you've got no connection to the wargaming universe, to the Warhammer universe. And that brings me on to another point. I think this could be a little more friendly towards non-tabletop hobby enthusiasts. So when I say that, it's not that they're not welcoming, the convention's very welcoming, but there could be a couple more activities that are sort of wargaming adjacent and tabletop gaming adjacent rather than on the money. The problem, if you can call it that, for me with conventions like this is sometimes people attend it who have the family with them or who have friends that they've dragged along with them and stuff like that, and not everybody in the group attending will be into tabletop gaming or war gaming in the same way. So whilst they have fantastic things like the board game library that everybody can make use of and play with, it could be a really good approach, I think personally, to have extra things like colouring or like a lore primer library, that kind of thing. Now I don't know how they'd go about setting up a lore primer library, because they'd have to either get lore primers from companies who are represented there, so like Games Workshop might be able to give them a lore primer for the 40k universe, the Age of Sigmar universe, that kind of stuff, and Warlord Games for some of their universes and the settings that you know, World War II settings and stuff that some of their games take place in. They could then provide a lore primer and stuff like that. But I think I got this idea kind of from Trench Crusade, where they provided a lore primer to people to give them an idea of the setting, and so you get the aesthetic and you get the idea behind the game a little more, and it makes it more easily accessible to a newcomer. Now I mentioned colouring earlier, and that to me comes from a previous video that Louise at Rogue Hobbies has done. So Louise Sugden, if you don't know, she runs Rogue Hobbies. She creates these Rascal Town miniatures that are really cool goblin looking miniatures, but that aren't in any other setting. And in the past I know she's run a couple of classes for kids, teaching them how to approach painting for the first time, and I think this could be a really useful thing for people before they do a speed paint or something like that, because if you could get like an A4 sheet printed out with either a number of different characters on that you could colour in for the first time. So you can get, I've seen in the past people have just like black and white drawings of Space Marines, and it's almost like a diagram approach. You can probably download them still from Games Workshop somewhere or from somewhere on the internet. And if a kid new to the hobby or that's never done the hobby before could colour in a Space Marine before they then try and speed paint a Space Marine, it'll give the paint jobs a little more coherency, I feel, and it'll give them something to aim for. They could whack the sheet down that they've just coloured in front of them, and then it gives them a better idea of what to do with the painting, rather than having like random splodges of paint all over the place, which I think some people tend to do when they paint their first miniature. And it's fine doing that, but having something to aim for, or even if they didn't provide colouring sheets, have a few examples of Space Marine chapters where you could pick one out and like aim for that kind of thing. Because I think sometimes it can be disheartening when you're getting into the hobby or you've not done the hobby before, and there's a Space Marine put in front of you and somebody just says paint it. So having a bit of reference material, whether it's something you've created yourself prior to going into the speed paint competition, or it's picking a chapter out ahead of time, that's a really good idea, I think, to try and encourage people to be a bit more focused with the painting. And in the regard of colouring as well, people like to colour for a number of reasons, and it can be just to chill out. It's called Chillcon, for God's sake. So just chilling out, having an area where you can relax and just do a bit of colouring, similar to the board game area that they have at Chillcon as well, where you can relax with your friends and play games. Not everybody might want to play games, some people might just want to colour in and stuff like that. So having an area like that where you can read lore primers, do a bit of colouring and that kind of thing, I think it'd be a really good addition to encourage a wider group of people to come to this event. Now there was like between 700 and 800 individual visitors to the event this year, so it is growing year after year, Chillcon. But I think encouraging, say if I'm a single dad and I had my kids that weekend and I wanted to bring the kids along, and having extra things that the kids could do without them having to be interested in tabletop or wargaming would be a boon, in my opinion. So those things are just an extra couple of suggestions that I think could improve the event and make it slightly more accessible to families and those not as keyed into the wargaming universe. But for those that are already keyed into the wargaming universe, like I said, they had fantastic vendors there, they had the seminars, Vendors such as Halen Games, like I said, they do like third-party alternative miniatures and stuff like that. They do some stuff for D&D and various game systems. And then you've got like Lion Tower, who do fantastically crisp miniatures. I really love Lion Tower, and I had to go on their lucky dip again this year. I've done that previously. I got a kind of alien creature this time. If I can find it, I don't know where I've put it. If I can find it, I'll put a picture up for you. Yeah, another thing I also did was take part in the speed building competition this year. A lot of my time was taken up helping Darcy's youngest daughter Matilda build her miniature, and it was they could make improvements on the speed building competition. It's like a kit bashing competition, not a speed building competition. So because it's a kit bashing competition, what I'm used to with kit bashing is having loads of different varieties of beings available to me, or vehicles, or you know, stuff like that. So like if I want to give a human like big spiny arms, like scythe arms of a lictor that you might find on a Tyrannid lictor, I can do that with Games Workshop kits. But the kits they had available there, I felt they were a little bit limited. They had, from what I saw, now it may be that I entered a later round of it, so there were fewer sprues left, but from what I saw, it was a little limited in sprue choice. So there were basically human sprues, various human sprues, some from like 20th century armies, and some from like more historical armies like Greek and stuff like that. I don't know the origins of these miniatures, but yeah, it was a little bit limited. I felt they could do things like throw more, if they've got like demon creature sprues in there, that kind of thing, alien sprues, in order to make it a little more exciting, I think, for people like myself. So you can get really creative with it. And you know, if I want to give it a big alien head, or a horse's head even, I can give my guy a horse's head and he's got a rifle across his chest, that kind of thing. But for what it's worth, I built this guy here with the tool in one hand, a massive gun in the other hand, and some he's listening to tunes as he's walking along with his skirt. So there we go, that's what I built. Like I said earlier as well, I was really looking forward to the seminars this year. Didn't get to take part in them because I was conscious of the fact that I wanted to make sure the girls were having a good time, and because they're not super into wargaming, I felt I had to keep them entertained a bit more than I might if there were a couple more like family friendly non-wargamer things to do. Whilst it is a wargaming convention, and I appreciate that, that's always going to be the main focus, I just think there could be one or two other things that they could add to it that are wargaming adjacent but slightly more accessible for either younger people who aren't into the hobby, or just for people in general who aren't into the hobby. So yeah, I was looking forward to watching Jug's live recording, but I missed that because I was keeping the kids entertained, doing the various activities with them. It was great overall though. Like I didn't actually take part in any demo games and stuff. I don't see myself ever wanting to get into many other games. There's Trench Crusade that I'm curious about. It's got the right sort of aesthetic for me with the grim dark of it all. But I barely play the games that I'm into already, like Warhammer 40k and a little bit of Warhammer Fantasy and stuff like that, and Kill Team. I barely play those games, so there's no point me doing demo games to try and get into a new game, because for me the gaming side of the hobby always takes a back seat. To finish off, Chillcon, as always, has a great painting competition. This year was no different. I'll do a quick panning shot of some of the miniatures that I saw this time, and I'll chuck a couple of stills up for you to finish the video. But I hope you enjoy the images of these miniatures. The standards was really high this year in the painting competitions. I'm not sure who won painting competitions this year, but make sure you keep your eye out on the Chillcon socials. Hopefully they'll share soon the victors. That's my Chillcon roundup this year. There's a couple of areas I think they could improve, but as usual, it was a fantastic convention, really good, and in my opinion, the best wargaming convention in the north of England. Yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the battlefield.